In this video, we're going to be looking at section 4.1, graphing in slope-intercept form. So our essential question today will be, how do I graph using slope-intercept form? So what we'll be doing today is combining the two previous lessons where we have to find an intercept, and now we have to actually use the slope. So earlier we were finding the slope, counting, or finding that y2 minus 1 over x2 minus x1 to find the slope, but now we're going to actually kind of go in reverse and use that slope to draw our line. So slope-intercept form is an equation with y equals mx plus b, where m is our slope and b is our y-intercept. So what's an important note to make is that to be in slope-intercept form, always solve for y. And what that means is we just want to get y by itself. So we need it to be positive, we need it to have no coefficients and no constants floating around it. So we need to have just plain old y equals, and then we'll have all this other stuff on the other side. So with that said, let's see if we can identify some stuff. So on A, B, C, and D, we want to state the slope and the y-intercept for each of the following equations. So to do that, we just have to identify the number right next to x, that's our m, that's our slope. And if you recall from last time, anytime we have a whole number slope, I highly stress we write it as a fraction. So what's that hidden number we'll put underneath the 2? 1. So there's our slope. There's 2 right here, so we have 2 over 1. And then our y-intercept is -4. -4 because we have to keep the sign of whatever is in front of that constant. So we got 2 over 1 for our slope and -4 for our y-intercept. Now B is a little tricky because there's no number that we can see directly in front of the x. But as we've come to realize, there's always that hidden 1 hanging out there, so we can write in that hidden 1. And then we can say our slope is, what's the number in front of x? The hidden 1. And then underneath that hidden 1 is another hidden 1. And then our y-intercept would be b is equal to -1. So what I'd like you to do right now is pause right here and try C and D real quick. Okay, so hopefully you took the chance to pause these. So first we're going to identify the slope and the y-intercept. So we have m is equal, what's in front? Well, let's say it's -1/2. And while we're right here, I want to talk about something that's important because we'll need this idea. When I have a negative out front, the negative can be applied to only one of the values. And it doesn't matter which one. We can say it's equal to -1 over 2, or we can say it's equal to 1 over -2. All 3 of these are equivalent. And we can use, and these 2 will be the ones we use the most when we are graphing. But I cannot stress this enough. The negative does not apply to both. We will not have -1 over -2. That is not what's going to happen. It's either -1 over +2 or +1 over -2. Okay, sorry about that spiel. So now we have this b equals, well, if there's no constant there, it's kind of like there's a hidden 0. So b would be 0 for part C. And for D, we have our m is equal to our hidden 1 over 1, and our b would be our negative 3. And that's how we can identify the slope and y-intercept, the slope being the number that is in front of the x, or our coefficient, and the y-intercept being the constant that follows, negative 3 in this case. Okay, so let's look at actually writing some equations in slope-intercept form. So what that means is I just want to isolate the y. So I want to get the y all by itself by solving for the y. So let's draw our line down the middle. And I have x plus y equals 8. So how do I get the y by itself? Well, I'll have to subtract x from both sides. And I like to put my x first, because that just kind of follows the form that we have, mx plus b. So it's a negative x, so I have y equals, so I have a negative x. And then I have plus 8, because it's a positive 8. So we had negative x plus 8. Then we can identify our slope and our y-intercept. Our slope will be negative 1 over 1, and our y-intercept is 8. So let's do b together. First thing I'll do is subtract 2x, my goal being to isolate the y. So I have 3y is equal to, let's put our x's first, so that's a negative 2x. Since that's a positive 12, we will add 12. Now when I'm dividing the 3, we have to be equal opportunity dividers. So if I'm dividing this term by 3, every term has to get divided by 3. So we're going to divide this term by 3, so every term has to get divided by 3. So now we have y is equal to, I can think of this as its own unique fraction, negative 2/3 x plus 4. Now we can identify our slope. Slope is negative 2/3, and our y-intercept is 4. Now, go ahead. I'd like you to take this chance. Try letter C and D on your own, and then we can compare our results. Okay, so hopefully you paused and took an opportunity to try these on your own. So let me look at this. So I have subtract x from both sides. Now we have negative 2y is equal to negative x plus 5. Negative 2y is equal to negative x plus 5. Then I'm going to be that equal opportunity divider. So everyone's going to get divided by negative 2. And so we'll have y is equal to, okay, well this gets a little tricky. If I have a negative divided by a negative, those negatives will cancel, and we have x over 2 plus 5 over negative 2. So we can see that our slope is, use that hidden coefficient, 1/2, and my y-intercept is 5 over negative 2. Or negative 5/2. Okay, let's look at D. So we have 2x minus y equals 0. So we'll subtract 2x from both sides. Then we have negative y is equal to negative 2x. We got to divide out this negative because we need it to be a positive y. So we know that's a hidden negative 1 in there. Looks something like that. And we get y is equal to negative 2 divided by negative 1 would be positive 2 x. Let's identify our slope. Our slope would be the coefficient 2 over 1. And when there's no y-intercept, we will say that the y-intercept is that hidden 0, plus 0. Now we've seen how to solve for y. We've seen how to identify the slope and the y-intercept. Now let's go ahead and use these guys. So I look at this. The first thing I want to do is, am I solve for y? We're solve for y. We have y equals, so yes. Now let's identify our slope and our y-intercept. My slope will be, it's a 2, but we got to write in that hidden 1. And here's where I'll get to explain why we have to write in the hidden 1. And the b, our y-intercept, will be negative 3. So we just use the words to help us. This is a y-intercept. So we know that that means it's intercepting the y-axis at negative 3. So that's my first point. I start here. I start at my y-intercept, then I use my slope to find my next point. So we'll start at the y-intercept. It's crossing the y at negative 3. 1, 2, 3. Now I use my slope to find my next point. And that's when those words rise over run come in. Because I will rise 2, and I run 1. Boom. And we can plot more points so it's easier to connect the dots. I go straight from here. I'm going to rise 2, and I'm going to go over 1. Do it again. Rise 2, over, run 1. So run is left and right, our horizontal movement. Now I connect the dots. There we go. We've drawn a line. So we identified our slope. We identified our y-intercept. We started at our y-intercept. And then we used our slope to find our next points. Up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. So I'd like you to pause right here. Try B on your own. Try B on your own. Pause right here. Okay, so let's look at letter B. Hopefully you tried it on your own. First we identify our slope. M is 2/3. Rise of 2, run of 3. Our y-intercept is negative 1. So I will cross the y-axis at negative 1. So we'll go, so remember we start here. This is where we start. So we'll start at negative 1. Then we rise 2 over 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Rise 2, 1, 2, 3. Oh, we're off the grid. So now, but I can also go backwards. If I went up 2 and right 3, I could go down 2 and left 3. And look, these lines are still, these points are still in a straight line. Like that. Now let's go ahead and turn to the next page. There's just one more thing I want to talk about before the video is over. So I'm going to skip C and D for now, and we're going to look at horizontal and vertical lines. So horizontal line is when it's telling us that x equals 2, but that means y can be anything. All we need to do is have x equals 2. So x equals 2 here, x equals 2 here, x equals 2 there, and y can be anything. It doesn't specify anything about y. So we can just draw a line that is horizontal when x equals. So x equals will be horizontal. And say we had y equals. I'll do this one in a different color. So we have this one in orange and x equals 2 in black. So if y equaled negative 3, it's that same idea. Where are all the points where y can equal negative 3? Well, we have a y equals negative 3 here, y equals negative 3 here. But we could plot anything where y equals negative 3, and then we just connect those points. So I had to discuss that real quick. And oops, I got my words wrong. This should be vertical, and this is horizontal. I apologize for that. Vertical. And that is how we can graph vertical and horizontal lines. If x equals 2, We just have to pick points where x is 2 and y is anything. Doesn't matter what y is. And if it's a y value, we see that y is -3. So we just pick a couple points where y is -3. We don't care what x is, and we just connect those. And that will be our video for graphing in slope-intercept form. Thank you very much, and have a great day.